This is Nikolas Cruz, 19 years old. 3 hours and 55 minutes before this moment, he killed 17 people at his former high school in Parkland, Florida. Among the dead were 3 teachers and 14 students. Most of them were 14 years old. After the shooting, he dropped his rifle, walked out of the building with the crowd, stopped at a Subway, then at a McDonald's, where he sat and spoke casually with the brother of one of his victims. The student did not know that his older sister had just been shot in the chest by the man sitting across the table. Cruz was arrested 1 hour and 20 minutes after the shooting, examined at a hospital, then taken to the local sheriff's office for interrogation. What happened in that room is what this profile is about. From the moment the subject entered the room, his eyes have not left the floor. He has maintained this downward gaze as if he is in a state of shock, as if he is disconnected from the moment. In the exact moment the door closes behind the detective, he lifts his head and observes his environment. His behavior changes completely the moment he believes no one is watching. He went from distant to alert. This tells us something important. His mind is not wandering. He is not in shock. He is entirely present, entirely aware, and very aware of exactly who is watching him. Once he becomes aware he is still being observed, his next gestures begin to resemble those of someone with suicidal tendencies. In their face value, these externalized thoughts may appear genuine to some, but when framed alongside the rest of his behavior throughout this interrogation, they are exposed for what they are: a calculated attempt to gain sympathy, to paint his character in what he believes is a more favorable light. He is not performing grief. He is performing the idea of grief. And there is a difference that most people never detect.
The refusal to accept food and water is a known behavioral response. It must not be confused with guilt, nor with remorse. Both guilt and remorse require the acceptance of responsibility, which directs our attention toward the feelings of others. Shame is different. Shame displaces our attention toward the perceptions of others, toward ourselves. The subject is afraid of how he will appear if he accepts the offer. He wants to seem so affected by events that he cannot concern himself with basic needs. This is not grief. This is image management.
The detective leaves the room. What happens next is perhaps the most revealing segment of the entire interrogation. With his head buried in his hands, no one knows what is passing through his mind. But his hands begin moving in a pattern consistent with reimagining the grip of his weapon. Surveillance footage from the school confirms he was left-handed. The subtle movement is consistent with this. But what is most revealing is how his behavior stops abruptly and changes completely just before he looks toward the camera. He passes from holding an imaginary rifle and beginning to smile, to faking tears and returning to suicidal gestures. All of this in under 4 seconds. His true self was reliving the attack and enjoying his work. His false self was too devastated to function. Completely opposite. Simultaneously. The lead detective, John Curcio, faces one of the most complex interrogation situations in the history of this type of case. The evidence against the subject is already conclusive. A confession is not essential, but police need to know why. And the subject's first recorded statements upon arrest have made that considerably more difficult. 2 words: demons, voices. These 2 words have now shaped the primary strategy of his own interrogation. The questions will be designed to lock him into a specific narrative about his supposed psychosis, while giving him the impression his answers are for his own benefit. Anything he says now can be used to cut his own defense in the years to come.
The subject claims to have been hearing a voice for years. He describes it as a demon, the evil side. The detective proceeds methodically. He asks about the voice's instructions, its characteristics, its schedule. The more information the subject provides, the less he will be able to amend later. The subject believes this is a clinical evaluation for his benefit. He does not realize he is handing the prosecution everything they need. He claims the voice told him to buy the AR-15. He claims the voice chose the music he listened to during the attack. He claims the voice told him to self-harm when he disobeyed. But he also claims to have maintained a job at Dollar Tree for 2 years, to have taken the ASVAB exam for the Army, to have managed his daily life independently. A force powerful enough to command mass murder apparently had no effect on his ability to clock in on time.
The subject claimed to have been fighting continuously against the bad intentions of the voice. A deleted video, later extracted from his phone, tells a very different story. In the recording, Cruz states, "Hi, my name is Nick, and I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people. With an AR-15 and a couple of tracer rounds, I think I can do it. The location is Stoneman Douglas in Parkland, Florida. It's going to be a big event, and when you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am." There are no signs of perceptual disturbance in that recording. No distress, no doubt, no hesitation. According to his own narrative, he claimed to have been struggling against an external force. Yet from a visual standpoint, there is no conflict in that video. None whatsoever. The detective now begins to confront, and the subject's behavior changes once more in response. He becomes defensive while attempting to protect his narrative. His responses become faster. He begins to interrupt the detective. This is significant. At the beginning of this interrogation, he was barely producing single words. The detective makes a simple observation. If the demon had the power to command him to kill 17 people, why did the demon have no power the night a student named Ian got the better of him in a fight? The subject has no answer. The detective presses further. He had access to marijuana. He had access to Xanax. Both, by his own admission, made the demon go away. He could have stopped it whenever he wanted. He did not want to stop it.
Many suspects facing serious charges believe that a declaration of insanity would reduce the severity of their punishment. This is a naive assumption. In the United States, if found guilty of a serious offense, but declared not guilty by reason of insanity, the defendant is committed to a high-security psychiatric institution. These institutions are without question among the darkest places in the system. If you are not genuinely suffering from mental illness, living in that environment will be a mentally agonizing experience. Once inside,
it is extremely difficult to leave, and you will likely serve the same amount of time, if not more, than you would have in a regular prison. To state it plainly, if you commit a serious crime and fake insanity to escape consequences, your life from that moment forward will be an extremely dark and uncomfortable existence, whether you fool the system or not.
Nikolas Cruz was found guilty on all 17 counts of premeditated murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The jury did not sentence him to death. The insanity defense was not successful. His attorneys argued that he suffered from fetal alcohol syndrome and severe mental illness. The prosecution argued that the planning, the purchase of the weapon, the selection of the location, the deleted video, and the behavior in the interrogation room all pointed to a defendant who was legally sane. He is currently incarcerated at a maximum security facility in Florida. He will never be released.
What does the case of Nikolas Cruz tell us? Not about the specific circumstances of Parkland. Those are documented elsewhere. What it tells us is something more fundamental about the architecture of deception. A calculating mind, when faced with consequences it cannot accept, will construct a narrative. It will select details. It will rehearse behaviors. It will perform emotions it does not feel. And it will believe, genuinely believe, that the performance is convincing. What the interrogation room reveals is not just what Nikolas Cruz tried to hide. It reveals the precise mechanism by which a mind attempts to rewrite itself under pressure. Every criminal leaves a signature. His was the performance itself.
Every criminal leaves a signature. Let's read the next one.